sure you're protecting yourselves from the landlords and the crazy property managers out there who want to take all your money, honey. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining along, and to my new subscribers, hey, what's up? It's so nice to see people are subscribing and checking out the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Happy Self-Care Sunday. We got the flowers in the back. Got one of the flowers market. Oh my god, it smells so good, and I don't have a vase, so we're just using this bottle. But I could eat these. Ooh. So today I wanted to talk about something applicable to my life currently, and probably a lot of people's lives, because things are changing and housing's going down and up, and you might be banking on looking for housing or apartments somewhere. And I wanted to talk about a few things before looking for housing, especially in big cities like the Bay Area. These are things I wish I knew prior to looking for housing, just so I could have been a little bit more on it and strategic with my approach to how I would go about things. So I wrote down my little notebook and we will talk about that now. So if you guys are interested, keep watching. So the first thing is to know what type of housing situation you want to get into. Do you want to live with people in the Bay Area, or do you want to have your own house that's unfurnished with other people you're looking with? In my personal opinion, looking with people that are in like the same they're looking for the same thing as you is much easier, because then you can all move in together and have a clear expectation of what you want. Whereas if you're moving into something, then you kind of have to follow the rules of whoever you're living with, and that can sometimes get a little awkward, and there might be a strange power dynamic with that. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, knowing your budget, your move-in date, the deposit of the place you want to live in, like what's the max for you, because trust me, they will charge you like crazy. And also your housemate's info. So what is their credit score? Do they have any evictions? What type of job do they have? Do they have any loans? Because those things are all going to come up to whoever's renting out the place, and they're going to see it. So it's important that you know it first, so that way it's not some type of shocker to you and can prevent you from getting all these places beforehand. As well, in the Bay Area, there are certain landlords that will charge an arm and leg for deposits, and that's something to be aware of and a little bit cautious of, because there's a lot of good deals sometimes, especially now that people are moving out, but you still have that deposit, which if certain landlords are really crappy, they're gonna try to take your whole deposit. So you have to think about what is your max, because trust me, this has come up for me, and it's been a deal breaker in some cases, because the landlord just seemed really hungry for money, and that kind of turned us off. And a lot of these landlords are also, they won't even, which they're not required to, by the way, they won't have the washer and dryer. They'll have the hookup, but they won't give it to you for free. So that's like another thing to think about. City things, right? It's just harder, and everything costs money, and also parking will cost money, so you have to ask about that too. Ask about parking, deposit, the move-in date, because you need to know, so that way you can look for things that will work for you in that regard, because it's really, really competitive, like crazy. The second thing, so where to look for places. You guys can look for housing for places in the city on, I would say first Craigslist, because I didn't realize, but people post on Craigslist first for a lot of places. You have to be very wary. Don't, wire money. Don't give out a deposit without getting the keys and verifying if the renter is actually legitimate. But that's one place. Craigslist, apartments.com, Zillow, typically that's the last place they'll post. As well, there's also, if you're looking with people, a lot of the times they have apartments on Facebook pages. So just search the area you want to live in, and then there's usually the area you want to live in, and then search housing, and you'll find all these pages that everyone's a part of that post about different places that are open and different rooms that are available. So that's where you guys can look for housing. Again, like I said, make sure you're not wiring money, and even be wary of the those fees that you have to pay for when you're doing the credit checks, because they upcharge anywhere from like $25 to $60, even though it's probably like $20-$25 to actually get it done. There's overhead that the lender or the renters have to pay, so they're gonna probably upcharge with that, and I hate that, but it's something that happens. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking for housing in the Bay Area or any major city. The third thing, ask important questions. Ask questions that matter. Yes, if there are 2 bathrooms instead of 1, those things matter, but what about certain things like repairs? Who's gonna pay for those repairs? Parking, laundry situation. How are the neighbors? Are the neighbors smokers? Are the neighbors loud? Are you allowed to even park in the parking spot that you see there? And then also always ask about the utilities, because a lot of times in the Bay Area, they will make you pay for everything. I would say the crappier landlords, they'll make you pay for the water and the garbage and everything else involved. So you have to ask those questions, because it can really change your perspective of how much you're going to pay in rent and utilities. And a general rule oftentimes is your cost of living shouldn't be more than 1/3 of your income. So if you might think it's a good deal, but then you see that you're not paying, you have to pay all those utilities, it could be something that you're not even interested in after that. So that's something to really keep in mind when you're looking in the Bay Area or any major city. The next one. So what happens if you love the place, you looked at the place and you thought it was amazing? What do? You need to say you're super interested, show you're interested, and also before you even come in, make sure you have a good attitude, you look professional, and you look like a good renter, right? People are very receptive to the type of person you are by, unfortunately, how you look and how you present yourself. So make sure you're presenting yourself in a way that's really going to be reflective of someone responsible and someone who will pay the rent, which, you know, it's kind of hard to tell what other people will want, but I just try to look like kind of business casual and very friendly and professional, just so that way people are more interested and inclined to rent out to me. Anyway, so if you love the place, jump on it. So have your papers on hand. Usually it's always online. So ask about the application, ask about who they can contact about this, because you really want this place and you really want to get it. So ask about the turnaround time, how long it's going to take. Ask them about the competitors and how many other people are applying, because this could also change your perspective of if you want to even apply to this place. Because like I said, everything has you have to do a credit check for most places, and they'll charge a lot of money. And the good thing about certain places though, like Zillow, I know Zillow, I'm not sure about apartments.com, but Zillow has 30 days where you can apply anywhere, and then you just do, I believe it's just 1 credit check, and you can send it out to all these different places, which is super nice. So I like Zillow for that. But other places like Craigslist, you would have to do separate applications constantly, and that's just, yeah. So make sure that you actually have a good chance of getting it before applying. Also, be aware that anytime you do apply to a place that you really love, you will get a credit check if it's a new credit check, and that usually dings your credit score by a few points. So just be aware of that, because I actually wasn't sure about that until I started really getting into it and realized like, oh, like every time you have an inquiry, it's considered a hard inquiry. So on your credit line, it will give you a few points down because you had someone else check your credit, which I just hate that. But that's how it works. So just letting you know now. Make sure that you really love the place and you have a good chance of getting it, and then apply to it. Make sure you know how long it will take for them to get back to you, because you want to make sure that you are on top of it and you are going to get to sign that lease. The next one is to negotiate your contract and really read into your contract and understand it fully. So for your contract, it's important to ask a lot of questions, like I said, and negotiate if you can. Since we're going through a rough time right now, people are giving 3 months rent or 2 months rent, or even reducing the price of rent because things are changing so much. So always ask and always do it in person. I've done it one time completely the wrong way. I did it through the phone and it completely like ruined my chances of a really nice place. So don't do it on the phone, because sometimes they don't see your gestures, they don't see your body language. Make sure it's inviting, make sure it's friendly. You can debate that if you have really good credit and everything, make sure you're expressing that, like, I have very good credit and I really like this place, and talking to them about it. I feel like I'm not a pro at this, but I do always try to ask, because if you never ask, the answer is always no, and it's always good to try to haggle and walk away if you have to, because sometimes you have to, and that's okay. Like, if they're asking for 3 months rent and you only want to do 2 and they're not compromising, then that's the end of that. The thing is with landlords and everything, if they're really challenging and difficult from the start, then can you imagine if you had to do a repair or anything like that, or there was an issue with anything in the house, they might try to take your deposit or things like that. So you always have to be aware of the landlord and their energy, because if it's bad, you don't want to waste your time and get scammed from your deposit. There are a few laws and regulations to protect both the renters and also the landlords. So yeah, but in California, they are allowed to do like first and last, and then the rent. I think they can do up to like 6 months in advance. I have to reread about that, but I was shocked because I didn't know they can just charge so much for just moving in, you know? But something to keep in mind. Another thing that I recently learned that I want to talk about is making sure beforehand, when in the contracts it always says like if there's damages, then it can come out of your deposit. So really getting a clarification, and I think there's a form, I'm gonna link it below, or link information about the form I found, that you go over the before and after of the apartment and even take videos of the apartment, so you can compare them for when you leave, so that way if there are any legal ramifications or if there are issues with getting your deposit back, you have that documentation that will prevent you from a lot of issues in the future when you're leaving the apartment. Because remember, everything is going in motion, everything keeps moving. So if you love the place, that's great, but when you move out, that's another story, and you do need your deposit back and all those things back. So make sure you're protecting yourselves from the landlords and the crazy property managers out there who want to take all your money, honey. I am almost through finding an apartment. I'm hopeful that in the next few weeks I will be living somewhere else in the Bay Area, which I might do an apartment tour, we'll see. But I wanted to share this with you guys just so you had a little more insight if you were to plan on moving into the Bay Area. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.